Hi guys, I'm here with you to share with you English as a second language lessons. All right. So, but before anything else, I'd like to tell you that I admit I'm not really a great authority when it comes to ESL or English as a second language teaching and learning, but I do have a lot of good authorities around which I can use as references. I have Headway series, and along this series of videos I'll be using Headway series as one of my references. Also, I'll be using Practice in Progress by LG Alexander. Also, I'll be using Interchange series, New Interchange or Interchange series, and also I'll be using the Grammar in Use series by Raymond Murphy. Alright, but for this particular video, I'll be using Practice in Progress by LG Alexander as my references. As my reference, rather. Okay, so I'm here with me, my whiteboard. Okay, my small whiteboard. Okay, this is very timely because we are in quarantine, so might as well use the time. But apologies, I need to drink my coffee. This is actually breakfast time here into the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Okay, for today, our topic is about past perfect. You might not be very familiar, or maybe you are familiar with past perfect, or you've encountered this already, but maybe you need more to know how to use properly past perfect. Siguro na-encounter nyo na or ginagamit nyo na, hindi nyo lang alam gaano kung or perfectly how to use past perfect. Okay? First and foremost, of course, you have to know what is the form. Okay, so past perfect form is had plus past participle. Okay, so by the way, this lesson is given that you already know the basic skills, which are, what are the basic skills that you need here? Of course, you already have the knowledge about the forms of the verbs, because if you don't know them, you cannot make sentences with past perfect. Also, you may need to have knowledge about tenses as well, conjunctions as well, and probably a bit of subject-verb agreement, okay, but not really that much, because since with the use of past perfect, the verb is not affected by the number of the subject, okay, because whether you have singular subject or plural subject, still you will be using the same form of past perfect, which is had plus past participle. Now, going back, what is past participle? Past participle is the verb 3 form, or here in Middle East they call it verb 3, and the third form of the verb. Okay, so example, with the verb go is the base form, and then goes is the S form, went is the past simple form or past form, and then gone is the past participle form. Okay, here in Middle East, this one they call it verb 1, this one is verb 2, and this one is verb 3. Okay, this is the base form, and this is the S form, which is basically used in present simple, and then this is the past form, which is of course used in past simple tense, and this is the past participle form, which is used in past perfect and other perfect forms, or even the passive voice of the verb. Okay, but anyway, we're not gonna talk any of those, but we will concentrate on the use of past perfect. If you need to know other lessons, or if you need to know the basic skills that I mentioned a while ago, then you need to do a little bit more research or visit my other videos regarding those before proceeding to this lesson, because it might probably confuse you. Okay, let me see it again. Sorry. Okay, so that's the form. All right, are we set? Let's go. Okay, next. The conjunctions that you need to use when you construct sentences with past perfects. What are those? You have, okay, you have after, before, as soon as, when, and and until. Okay, so far those are the only, sorry for the spelling of before, those are the only conjunctions that you will be using with past perfects according to L.G. Alexander of Practice in Progress. But also other references are actually particular with that, but I do use the Practice in Progress in reference to past perfect because it's explained very clearly how to use past perfect in there. Okay, all right, so these are the conjunctions that you need to use with past perfect. Again, after, before, as soon as, when, and until. Did I miss anything? Yes, those are the conjunctions in. Okay, now how do you use past perfects? Okay, past perfect is used to describe an action that happened before another action. It means that there are two actions that happened in the past that you're describing. Okay, there is first and there is second action. Okay, ang ibig sabihin po is that nagpapaliwanag ka or nag-e-express ka ng dalawang bagay na nangyari noon, kahapon, or anything in the past. Okay, so the first action you have to use the past perfect, the second action you have to use the past simple. Yung unang nangyari, yun ay gagamitan mo ng past perfect. Yung pangalawang nangyari, gagamitan mo ng past simple. Hindi mo pwedeng gagamitan ng past perfect yung pangalawang nangyari, yung unang nangyari lang. Okay, now how to use it properly? Okay, well, let's use all of these conjunctions to make it very clear. All right, para alam nyo kung paano talaga gagamitin. Okay, example. After he had eaten breakfast, comma, because in formal language, when the conjunction clause, the clause with the conjunction is on the first part of your sentence, you need to have comma. Okay, so after he had eaten breakfast, he went out. Now, what does it mean? This means that in the first clause, that is what happened, and the second clause, first rather, and in the second clause, that is what happened next. Which means having breakfast is the action that happened first action, and then going out is the action that happened next, or the second action. Okay, now we use the past perfect in the first action. Okay, and we use the past simple in the second action. All right. Now, in here, you are describing two actions in order of occurrence. Okay, it means that you're describing first the first actions and second the second action in order of occurrence. In this case, past perfect is actually optional. Okay, so you can actually say, instead of past perfect, you can use just the past simple of eat, which is ate. So you can say, after he ate breakfast, he went out. So you can use both past simple in both actions because you are describing actions in order of occurrence. All right. So if you use the past perfect, if you still use the past perfect, means you're emphasizing that this is the first action. So that means that past perfect is used for emphasis. All right, emphasis that this action happened first before another action. Okay. All right. Is it clear? I hope it is clear. All right. So now, if I'm going to change the position of my clauses, all right, what will happen? Okay, so you would understand better. Okay, he went. I will now mention the second action first. He went out after he had eaten breakfast. Can you still see it? All right. So I mentioned the second action first before mentioning the second action, the first action. So he went out after he had eaten breakfast. In this case, this is the second action, and this is the first action, right? Okay. So I mentioned two things that happened in the past but not in order of occurrence. In this case, past perfect is necessary. Kailangan gamitin mo yung past perfect kasi binanggit mo siya sa huli. Hindi magkasunod ang pagbanggit mo sa dalawang pangyayari. Pag ganon, past perfect is necessary. I would say not necessary but grammatically correct. Okay? Kasi pag sinabi mong necessary, pwedeng hindi gamitin or not, but no. Grammatically, it should be past perfect. When you mention the second action, not in the first part. Okay? So that's the use of past perfect. Can you see the difference? In the first sentence that I have, the past perfect is optional. Why? Because you mentioned two actions in order of occurrence. In the second sentence that I have, I only interchange the position of my clauses. I mentioned the two actions not in order of occurrence. I mentioned the second action first. So I need to use the past perfect. I must use the past perfect. Is it clear? Or do you need more example? No, I already promised I'm going to make use of all the conjunctions. Anyway, okay, so let's see. Actually, I can just change my preposition. Sorry, conjunction rather. As soon as. How about if we use as soon as? As soon as. As soon as he had eaten breakfast, he went out. Okay? It's actually exactly the same as how you use after. Okay, so still, if you mention two actions in order of occurrence, of course the past perfect is optional. And remember that when you use as soon as and after, the past perfect form of the verb is with that clause, and the past simple is in the other clause. Okay, that's how you use as soon as and after. The difference is that the gap of how the two actions occurred. Of course, when you say as soon as, means that there's a little gap between the two actions. But with the use of after, there isn't, we don't know how long the gap is or how short the gap is between the two actions. Whereas with as soon as, it's really right after the first action. That's the difference. Okay. Now let's see with the word before. Okay. Is it clear? I hope so. And let's have before. Let me erase. Sorry. Okay. Let me think. Okay, before I went to the grocers. Okay. Before I went to the grocers, I took, sorry, I have to use past perfect. I had taken a shower. As you can see, I used the past perfect here because I mentioned the two actions not in order of occurrence. Okay, so obviously, if you make sense of the example I gave, is that taking a shower happened before going out to go to the grocers or to the grocery store, right? Okay, so we use past perfect here because this is the first action. Okay, and they are not in order of occurrence. Okay, so past perfect is a must. Okay, now, so the use of before is actually opposite to the use of after and as soon as, because with before, the before clause uses past simple and the other clause uses the past perfect, whereas in after, remember, with after and as soon as, the after and as soon as clauses use past perfect with them but past simple in the other clause. Okay, that's basically the difference between before and after or as soon as. All right. Okay, now what if we're going to change the position of before? I move I move before in here in the second clause. Okay, so see, if I put before here, okay, then this will become to, okay, I went to the grocers, no comma, before I took a shower, means this one happened first. Going to the grocers happened first before taking a shower. So as you can see, I'm using past simple both because I am mentioning two actions in order of occurrence. All right, and also it changes the meaning because I changed the position of before. Okay, so you can also use past perfect here. All right, but that is optional. Again, you only use past perfect to emphasize the first action. Okay, so I had gone to the grocers before I took a shower. Which is the right thing to do actually. Yeah, because after going to the grocers, you might feel or you might smell bad, then you need to take a shower. Or maybe the other way around. You want to take a shower first so that you will smell good when you go out. Okay, people might smell you. All right, it could also make sense depending on the situation. All right, so anyway, you be careful where you put before because it changes the meaning. Just like after, also be careful where you put after because it changes the meaning. It changes where the first action, or it changes, yeah, the meaning, because with before and after, it is very clear what the first action is and what the second action is. All right, okay, now actually that before, that's the difference between before and after or as soon as. Okay, with when, okay, if I use when, okay, it's using the same example. so that it won't be very good. Or how about if I write it again so you won't get confused? Okay, let me write it again. Sorry, my marker dropped. So, but can I drink another sip of coffee? Can I sip another coffee? What was my example? He had gone to the grocers when he took a shower. Okay, now here I need to use the past perfect because with the use of when, the first action and the second action is not clear with the use of when. So you need to use the past perfect even if it's in order of occurrence. Why? Because I can actually put when here. Okay, when he had gone to the grocers, he took a shower. It did not change the meaning at all, right? So you actually have to, when you put when on the second clause, you really have to use the past perfect because we don't know where is the first action or not. Or even if you put it in the first clause rather. Yes, with the use of when, you really have to use past perfect because it's not clear where the first action or the second action is. It's necessary to use the past perfect with the conjunction when. Alright, unlike with after and before, there will be instances where past perfect is optional. Okay, because it's clear cut where the first action is or what the first action is. But with when, whether you put it in the first clause or the second clause, actually it doesn't change meaning. Okay, that's why it's very confusing where is the first and the second action. So you need to use past perfect when you use when, whether you put it in the first clause or in the second clause. You need to use the past perfect to express that this is the first action. Okay, is it clear? That's the use of when. Okay, how about until? Okay, let me give you another example. With until. I had not disturbed him until he finished his. Don't get confused with the negative form, alright? So this is the first action, not disturbing him. Because when you remove not, that will be a different meaning at all. Okay, so this means that disturbing him happened only after he finished work. So not disturbing him happened before he finished work. Is it confusing? Okay, but that is how you use with the conjunction until. Just take note of my example every time, okay, if you get confused. Okay, so our recap, how we use the past perfect form is had plus past participle or verb 3 of the verb. Verb 3 rather. And then the conjunctions that you can use is, or are rather, after, before, as soon as, when, and until. Okay, remember the properties of after, before, as soon as, and when, and until, and their differences when you're constructing sentences or expressing sentences. All right. Okay, do I need to mention again? You just have to replay, okay, to know exactly if you are still confused. All right, so that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to hit the like button and share my video, and there's also a subscribe button all right, so that you will be updated or notified with any updates that I'm gonna make with my um, YouTube channel. Bye bye. By the way, this is Teacher Khalil.